I've got to get rid of it actually, because it's difficult for me. I'm 80 and it's difficult for me to get in and out of. But so I'll be swapping this if anybody is interested. It's a beautiful car, very solid, lovely paintwork, good roof, all panels are good, a lot of new ones. I've made a few changes to it to make things easier because I'm 80, and try to modernise it without spoiling the car by doing a couple of little changes. I'll show you a couple of things I've done now. One thing, I put a speed control on the heater because it's a pretty crappy idea, the on and off switch being on the cable. So I put a motor speed control which I got off eBay, and that was really cheap. I put that on so I could vary the speed of the heater. I've also done the same on the windscreen motor, so that it's just not one speed, it's variable speed now. So the same speed control off eBay. Also I've altered, I kept the water bottle off the washers, but I bought a electric water bottle kit, washer kit, and I adapted the old reservoir to take the new motor, and this is it. That was purchased off eBay, and that was also, I mean, less than a tenner, the kit, and I've just drilled out the whole water bottle because the new one wouldn't fit, and put this one in. I've also altered the heater here, fresh air intake, because it was very perished, you know, the big things, and I've just adapted it. That's an old top off something I used, and I've just used this hose that I got off. It's the same size as the air intake hose. And I've just, instead of running it to the front of the car, I've run it underneath the car, just below the engine. It works just as well. It doesn't need that big hose. This works just as well. Gets hot. The heater nice and hot now. Now the most important thing was the brakes. Excuse me. As you know, the brakes on the Midget are not that great, not compared with modern cars, so I've altered them. And I must mention these chaps that I bought. Let's try and get it in there. I bought the kit from, I'll read it out to you because it's terrible image there. It's Auto Suspension House. I'll spell it out to you. AUTOSUSPENSIONHOUSE. Auto Suspension House. These chaps were very, very helpful regarding this unit. It's the upgraded remote booster servo assembly. Very, very helpful people. I can't stress how helpful they were on advice and so on, because there's not a lot of room in the Midgets to take servo units. That's why I freed up this space here with the heater hose. I was going to put it on this side, but I've got another use for that. But here's the unit I purchased from these people. I think they were unsure, not too sure, because on one of their adverts it says not suitable for MG Midget, but it does work, does fit in. I was concerned about it fitting in the space, but it does fit in okay. The first thing you want to do when it comes to installing is connect the vacuum pipe, because fixing it up to the to the servo unit is a bit tight when it comes to doing it. I've connected the vacuum end to the intake manifold, and you'll find on the Midget there is a nut that's very usable. You undo the nut, you have to drill it and tap it, or get a firm to tap it for you, and use a piece of tube with the same thread to connect to it. That's not a difficult job at all. It works very nicely. Anyway, the other end, as I say, once you can try and connect it all up, it's very, very difficult to get this hose on. So you want to connect the hose before you. It has to be cut shorter, a little bit shorter. The one that's supplied is a little bit long. You need to cut about a foot off. But you connect that to the servo before you install it, because you'll have a hell of a job getting that on once it's installed. Now what I've done, the MG Midget, I don't know if I can get this in, but it has two outlets on the fluid reservoir, the back of the reservoir, and this unit, the servo unit, only has one intake. So what I've done, thank God I had copper wires on the Midget, because the ones that come with the kit are not very malleable, even when heated up. Now my hose, and I suspect yours will be the same, the brake fluid lines run along the back, and what I did, rather than altering the fluid reservoir, I cut them near the bonnet hinge and got a T-piece to run two into one. When you get a T-piece off eBay, it's just a couple of quid. When you get it, you might want to buy some of these that connect the line to the T-piece. You might want to buy some long ones, because the ones that come with the T-piece are very, very short, and when I first put it on, there was a little bit of weeping, because no matter how tight you did it, there wasn't enough thread to push the nipple up tight to the T-piece. I've managed to do it, but if it didn't work, then I was going to grind or cut with my angle grinder a little piece of this T-piece, about 1/8 of an inch off it, so that the connector would go in deeper. Now I had 4 of these short pieces, and I was very worried. In fact, when I connected it, I did have some weeping initially, and I put a bit of strips of bandage around each one, so I could find out which one was leaking. And I took the bandage off after a few miles and checked, but after I tightened them all up, it stopped weeping. At the moment, I've got to keep an eye on it, but I would get the longer nipples, whatever they're called. I would get the longer ones. 6, they're done about 6 for less than a fiver, or 10 for less than a fiver. Now, as I say, I connected the 2 outlines from the front and rear to the T-piece. You may wonder why there was 2 on the earlier Midgets. There was only 1 coming out from the reservoir. You might wonder why there's 2. Well, it was in case either the front brakes fail or the rear brakes fail, you still got another pair of brakes. But so this doesn't make a lot of difference. Your brakes don't often fail up here. Anyway, they go into this T-piece from the reservoir and they come out. This is the single one out, which goes into the back of the servo. And the other end that I cut, that supplied the brakes, got a T-piece there, and these are the 2 that go to the brakes, and this piece of the T-piece, this comes into the front of the servo. That's the supply. So your fluid comes up here into the T-piece, out of the T-piece, into the back of the servo. Then the fluid comes from the outlet of the servo, the front of the servo here, up to your T-piece, and then out to your supply, to your brake shoes and pads. What else was I going to say about it? Oh yes, you can get these pipes made up for £2 each, plus what was it? It was £2.90 postage from a chap on eBay called Billy Blade 199. He makes copper brakes, but brake lines for easiness, but you still have to flare the end of the ones that you cut. There's 4 you have to flare. Now I bought a flare kit from Amazon, and I think that was £11, which is one of the cheapest I've seen. You get companies selling exactly the same flare kit for 50 quid, but Amazon do one, I think it was for £11. They do second hand ones for £15, but they do the new ones about 11. Anyway, the brakes work, I must say, about 150% better. I'm really pleased. They're as good as any modern car brakes now. Before, oh, I used to panic when I went down the road. When I got to I live on a hill. When I got to the bottom of the road, put the brakes on, they were pushed down like hell. But now, I say they are pretty good, pretty damn good. As I say, once more, the suppliers of the servo unit were Auto Suspension House. That's AUTOSUSPENSIONHOUSE on eBay. They're one of the cheapest suppliers of this unit, actually, and they're very, very helpful with any advice. Or you can always call me. You've got my email address on the beginning of this video, and ask them for on eBay, uprated remote booster servo assembly.